I never imagined a simple repair would lead to a life-changing reunion. I can still feel the rush of that day. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. The air was thick with tension as I stared at the old, rusted door in my hands, fingers trembling against its cold metal. It was more than a door, it was a time capsule. I braced myself, peeling back layers of dust and memories. Every scratch told a story. Every dent echoed a laugh or a tear from another time. I held my breath, unsure of what I'd find inside. The hinges creaked like an old man waking from a long sleep, and suddenly, that familiar scent of old wood and something pungent, a hint of nostalgia, flooded my senses. Would I uncover whispers of the past, or perhaps, something even more shocking? Back then, I was just a kid, barefoot and dreaming on the sun-baked pavement outside that very door. My grandmother and I used to play there. She'd tell me tales of the world beyond while I imagined adventures. But she vanished when I was 16. A ghost in my life, her absence was a shadow I couldn't shake. When I heard about the repairs on the property, my heart raced with excitement. Maybe, just maybe, it would uncover pieces of her I'd never known. I braved the noise of the crew, their laughter a stark contrast to my quiet heart. Yet deep down, I felt a pulse, the kind that tingles your spine, urging you to press on, to dive into the unknown. As I pried open the door, a rush of air escaped, a whisper of secrets begging to be revealed. What if I found something that changed everything? I thought of my mother, lost and grieving. Would she find solace in whatever I uncovered? As I stepped inside, the weight of desperation gripped me. I had to know. But what I found was only a fragment. A tattered journal, its pages yellowed like old bones. I flipped it open, fingers shaking, and saw familiar handwriting. It hit me like a punch to the gut. My breath caught. It couldn't be. I quickly scanned the words. There were names I hadn't heard in years, places I'd hoped never to revisit, and then, I stumbled upon a haunting entry that sent chills down my spine, mentioning someone I knew. Someone who had left without a word. My heart raced faster than I could comprehend. What was she hiding? Why had she written about them? My hands weren't just trembling from fear now, they were trembling from revelation. My vision blurred. I felt anger, confusion, heartbreak all at once. Just then, the door creaked again, this time from behind me. I turned, my heart in my throat. Who would be here? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air thickened as I turned slowly, my heart thundering in my chest. There stood a figure I hadn't seen in years, silhouetted against the fading light pouring in through the doorway. It took a moment for my mind to process the vision in front of me, a mix of disbelief and an aching sense of familiarity. Sam, the figure whispered, voice trembling yet strong, as if battling demons long hidden. I didn't expect to find you here. My breath caught again, and the journal slipped from my fingers onto the floor with a quiet thud that echoed the chaos inside me. Recognition surged, swirling with confusion. Jamie, my childhood friend, the one who had vanished from my life the same year my grandmother had left. The same year everything changed. What are you doing here? I managed to ask, feeling a mixture of relief and anger, years worth of questions flooding my mind. 2VE come to find answers, Jamie replied, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. There was a vulnerability there, an apology that hung unspoken in the air between us. We stood in charged silence, memories flooding back. Adventures in the nearby woods, secrets whispered as we lay on picnic blankets staring at the stars. Everything we had once shared felt like a ghost rising from the ashes, but the anger I had buried over the years wanted to rise like bile. You left without a word. When I needed friends the most, you just disappeared. My voice cracked, the weight of those words tugging at the fragile threads holding my composure together. I know, and I'm so sorry, Jamie acknowledged, stepping closer, their eyes searching my face for understanding. I came back because I heard about your grandmother. I wanted to. I wanted to be there for you, but it hurt too much. I didn't know how to face it all. The volume of their confession felt like a punch to the gut. I held on to resentment, thinking I could avoid the pain. Yet seeing Jamie here, a familiar stranger, brought the old wounds to the surface. As I took a step forward, aching to understand, my eyes landed on the journal on the floor, open to the page with the haunting entry. Without thinking, I picked it up, showing it to Jamie. Is this why you came? Because of him? Jamie's expression shifted, confusion melding with recognition as they scanned the page. Two didn't know they were mentioned here. Do you want to know? About what happened? My heart raced, a morbid curiosity battling with the dread of being dragged deeper into the shadows of the past. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet strangely alive in this moment of reckoning. Please, I need to know everything. Just as Jamie began to speak, the sound of footsteps interrupted, heavy and erratic, echoing down the hallway. The moment collapsed in on itself, a binding tension thickening until it felt unbearable. Jamie looked towards the source of the noise, panic etching their features. We need to get out of here, Jamie urged, taking my hand. The gesture surprised me, but I knew better than to question it. If there were secrets hidden in the walls of this place, we no longer had the luxury of hesitating to uncover them. As we hurried toward the entrance, just a few paces away, my heart began to race in new ways. Who was coming? With each hurried breath, I felt hope wrestle with dread. Would we find someone who could answer our questions, or were we running towards something we weren't ready to face? Then, in a split second of gut-wrenching clarity, I realized with a terrible jolt Jamie had been the last connection to a web of stories I longed to unravel. But were they prepared for what lay ahead? We're in this together, I said, squeezing Jamie's hand tightly as the footsteps echoed closer. Together, we had surfaced from the depths of the past only to find ourselves on the brink of yet another storm. And just as we stepped outside, everything shifted. The world beyond the threshold no longer felt as it once had. It was a reality swirling with secrets and shadows, pulling us deeper into unknown territory. The footsteps stopped abruptly, and I turned for one final glance at the door I had pried open, wondering if what lay on the other side, both in the present and the past, would haunt us forever. The night air was a stark contrast to the chaos we had just fled. It felt cool, almost biting, as it wrapped around us, heavy with anticipation. Jamie's grip was warm and reassuring, a lifeline in the storm of confusion swirling in my mind. I glanced at their face, shadows and light dappling their features, still tracing the contours of that familiar childhood innocence mingled with something darker. There was an urgency in the silence as we stepped away from the building, my heart racing with unanswered questions. Where do we go? I whispered, the words catching in my throat. Every direction seemed fraught with danger, both external and deeply personal. Back to my old house, Jamie said, their voice steady despite the uncertainty in their eyes. I think maybe the things we left behind can help us find the answers we need. They didn't mention that the old house church had been abandoned for years, veiled in memories and regrets. It felt like a descent into twilight, both nostalgic and suffocating. I nodded, trusting Jamie despite the swell of apprehension twisting in my stomach. As we walked, the streets seemed strangely foreign, shadows flickering under the dim streetlights as they illuminated fragments of a past I had fought to forget. I could hear my heartbeat thrumming in my ears, punctuating the heavy quiet as the world around us faded. When we finally arrived at the house, my breath hitched at the sight. Vines crawled up the sides, reclaiming windows that were once alive with light and laughter. The familiar scent of damp earth mixed with the faintest memory of Jamie's mother's cookies flooded my senses, taking me back to carefree summers chased by fireflies. Jamie unlocked the door with a hesitance born of years spent apart, and the creak of the hinges echoed through the empty halls, reverberating against the walls like ghosts awakened from a deep slumber. We stepped inside, the air thick with dust and echoes of a life once full of laughter. "Let's search the attic first," Jamie suggested, their voice breaking the stillness that surrounded us. There were always boxes of things we never got to sort through. Maybe we can find something meaningful." As we made our way up the narrow staircase, darkness cloaked the attic like a heavy shroud. A single beam of moonlight trickled through the cracked window, illuminating piles of forgotten memories, outdated toys, dusty books, and faded photographs that told stories of innocence and joy. I started going through the boxes, my hands trembling slightly. Each item carried a weight, and nostalgia rippled through me like waves of warmth and pain. Jamie stood beside me, sifting through a box labeled Sam and Jamie, a bittersweet smile breaking through their tension. "Remember when we built that treehouse?" Jamie asked, their voice quiet yet vibrant with fondness. "We thought it was a spaceship," that I chuckled, the sound surprising me. "And we always crashed before we even left Earth." As laughter hung in the air between us, a tarnished photo frame caught my eye among the other relics of our childhood. I picked it up, dusting it off to reveal an image of the two of us dressed in costumes, grinning wide while standing in front of the very treehouse Jamie had mentioned. But there was something else, bold and haunting, peeking from behind the frame. A single word, faint yet chilling, was etched in the wood: "Run." The joyfulness of the moment flickered, shadows creeping back into our space. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I turned to Jamie, uncertainty replacing the laughter moments before. "What does that mean?" Jamie's expression twisted with confusion. I don't know." Suddenly, a distant thunder rumbled outside, mirroring the tempest inside me. An unshakable sense of dread settled like a heavy veil. The past we had yearned for felt like a trap, an intricate web woven with secrets and lies, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was leading us directly into danger. What if this was a warning? I murmured, staring at the word, an omen that clawed at my heart. In that moment, Jamie's gaze softened, fear etched across their face as if they were already anticipating the darkness encroaching upon us. "We need to remember everything, Sam. We can't outrun our past." Not this time. That my throat went dry as I realized there was more at stake than just uncovering old memories. We were digging into a past fraught with pain and loss, and yet, beneath the fear, there was the faintest flicker of hope. The fleeting moments we shared as children told me there was strength in the connection between us, a resilient bond waiting to be reignited. As another rumble of thunder echoed, the door to the attic burst open, and the floor creaked under the weight of something or someone approaching. My heart raced, the world shifting once more beneath my feet. The moment stretched, teetering on the edge of reality as my eyes darted toward the darkness spilling through the doorway. And then, out of the shadows, a figure stepped forward, their features introducing a chilling recognition that left my blood running cold. "I was wondering when you would find this place." The figure emerged fully from the shadows, their face illuminated by the flickering torchlight outside as the storm gathered strength. My heart seized at the sight of them. It was someone I thought I'd never encounter again, someone I had buried deep in the corners of my memories as a protective measure against the pain they represented. "Carter." Jamie's voice wavered, a mix of disbelief and dread. I could see the pulse of recognition leap in their eyes, the past rushing back like a tidal wave, ready to engulf us both. He stood there, a ghost from another life, as though the years had simply wrapped around him and faltered at his threshold. Carter's eyes scanned the attic, lingering on the dust-covered remnants of our childhood, before finally settling on us. "You two just couldn't let things go, could you?" Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, to shield Jamie from whatever storm Carter had brought back with him. I could feel Jamie stiffen beside me, their hand gripping the edge of an old toy box as if it were a life buoy amidst turbulent waters. "What are you doing here?" Jamie's voice broke the silence, a fragile veneer over the fear latent within it. Carter stepped forward, ignoring Jamie's question. "Did you really think you could just walk away? This place, our past, it's the anchor keeping us bound together, and you can't escape it. Maybe we don't want to be bound to it anymore," I countered, my voice steadier than I felt. "We're trying to make sense of what happened." "You need to leave." He smirked, the movement seeming to deepen the shadows around him. "That's just it, Sam. You think running will solve anything? You shouldn't have come back." This place will remember you. You're a coward for hiding in the past, Jamie snapped, surprising me with the fire in their words. You don't scare us. Carter arched an eyebrow, and for a moment, the light flickered across his face, illuminating not just the anger but the hurt that lay beneath. Is that what you think? That I'm hiding? You've both done more running than I ever did. You left me here, heaping guilt upon my shoulders for things I never wanted to happen, things you had a hand in. I shouted, anger flaring within me. You let everything spiral out of control, signaled disaster. Do you really expect us to simply listen to you? I expect you to remember, he hissed, a venomous bittersweet edge to his tone. The truth is always there, Sam. You just have to confront it. Like it or not, we're all part of this story. The air crackled with tension, every fiber in my being screamed to chase him away, but something in Jamie's expression, a flicker of understanding, held me back. I glanced at them, searching for the right words, but all I could find were fragments of the past swirling in my throat like ash. Why are you really here, Carter? Jamie's voice sliced through the murky fog of memories that threatened to pull me deeper. You didn't just follow us to make us relive the horror, you're hiding something, aren't you? Carter paused, the facade cracking for just a moment. The shadows surrounding him felt colder, heavier. Fine. You want the truth? I came back for you. For both of you. There are things you don't understand. Things about that night. About. His voice trailed off, dipping into an abyss of unwelcome emotions. What do you mean? I asked, heart pounding, the uncertainty palpable in the air between us. That he looked from me to Jamie, eyes darting between us like they held the weight of everything we had once cherished. If I told you everything, you might think it's too late to run, but you need to know. There are pieces missing. Things that go beyond our childhood games. The storm outside intensified as if mirroring the turmoil within. I took a step closer, drawn in by a morbid curiosity mingled with dread. What pieces, Carter? You need to be clear. We deserve to know what you're hiding. As he shifted uncomfortably, something in his demeanor changed. His bravado faded slightly, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. You want to hear about that night? About the fire? About why I was gone and everything crumbled? The darkness around us felt thick as molasses. For a moment, I held my breath, caught between wanting to know and fearing what revelation might dance freely in the air. Stop! Jamie shouted, their voice sharp enough to pierce through the weighty silence. You've ensnared us in your web of lies for too long. We're not afraid of you or the past. The thunder crashed, a reluctant witness to our confrontation. Before she could finish, the smell of smoke wafted through the attic, hostile and familiar. Panic surged through my veins as I turned toward the window, the flickering glow from below casting ominous shapes upon the walls of our childhood. It's back, Carter whispered, horror dawning on his face. I thought it was contained. We need to get out now. Suddenly, the walls felt as if they were pressing in, the echo of our fears coiling tighter around us. I looked at Jamie, who was staring wide eyes at Carter's shifting expression. The mingled fear and hope, uncertainty and strength, hung heavy in the air. That we were plunged into darkness, uncertainty swirling like fog enveloping us. As we moved towards the door, I felt the weight of the truth looming, even more menacing than the fire spreading below. Whatever revelations lay ahead, they bore the power to shatter or to heal, but would it be worth it? Was it really wise to confront our past when it threatened to swallow us whole? Together, Jamie muttered, eyes focused, despite the chaos unraveling around us. The fire mirrored our inner turmoil, sending us tumbling into an unknown, and the only choice left was to forge our own path, one fraught with shadows we thought we had escaped. That I took one last glance at the relics of a life long gone, the treehouse, the laughter, the warmth of childhood, all now suffocated by uncertainty. And then we were propelled forward, hearts racing, out into the storm, and as the door slammed shut behind us, I knew the real fight was just beginning, the fight to reclaim what was lost and confront the past that had returned with a vengeance. The rain hammered relentlessly against the roof, an empathetic drumroll for the chaos unfolding. Outside, the world was already a blur, the storm creating a curtain that obscured everything I had known. Inside, The remnants of our childhood echoed with every heartbeat, each pulse resonating with memories I had dreadfully tucked away. As we stepped into the narrow hallway, flanked by worn photographs that felt foreign now, I could almost hear them whispering old secrets, hushed warnings and laughter that had gradually become lost in the dust of time. Jamie's grip around my arm was firm, yet there was a tremor beneath their hold, an unspoken fear that collided with my own. "Sam, we have to get to the basement," Jamie said, urgency threading through their voice. "We need to figure out what Carter meant. What if he's just playing with us? What if he really doesn't know anything?" My voice trembled. The notion of confronting Carter felt like stepping onto a precarious cliff, with nothing but darkness below. "We'll never know unless we try," Jamie replied, their determination flickering like a candle threatened by the wind. They released me, moving toward the staircase that spiraled downward into the depths of our old home, a place we had long severed ties with, yet here we were again, back to the very heart of it. As we descended, the air grew cooler, more suffocating. The musty scent from the basement lingered, laden with the memories of late-night adventures and secrets shared in hushed tones. I hesitated at the bottom of the stairs, my heart pounding. If there was a trapdoor to our past emotions, this felt like the entrance. "Do you think he brought us back here to finish what we started?" My voice was barely above a whisper, the thought sending a chill racing along my spine. Jamie turned, their face a candle in the dark. "Or maybe to escape from it." There was something that flickered in their eyes, an amalgamation of dread and resolve that bound us tighter than the very walls around us. With every step deeper into the basement, shadows danced mockingly around us, and I felt a familiar knot tighten in my stomach, the fear of what we might unearth. We stumbled upon an old trunk, half buried under the weight of dust and time, its corners frayed just like the memories it held. I knelt down, my fingers brushing over the surface. "Should we?" I glanced at Jamie, looking for any hesitation, but they nodded, the spark of hope illuminating their determination. I opened the trunk slowly, the creaking lid betraying its hidden secrets. Inside, I found old photographs, frayed letters, and the remnants of games we had played, each piece a thread in a tapestry I had thought I could keep buried. The sight clawed at my heart. How could we have abandoned the joy we once knew? "What is all this?" Jamie asked softly, kneeling beside me, reverently touching the scattered contents. I think this was Carter's way of holding on to us, maybe even a plea for forgiveness. I pulled out a faded photograph, capturing the three of us in unguarded joy, our smiles frozen in time. My heart twisted painfully in my chest. "We left him behind, didn't we?" Jamie's breath quickened, their fingers dancing over the edges of the photograph. "We couldn't stay. It was too painful, but maybe that's why he's back. Maybe he needs us now more than ever." The concept hung heavy in the air. In the depths of guilt and betrayal lay a kernel of hope. Perhaps Carter hadn't returned just to haunt our past, but to illuminate it. Suddenly, a flicker of understanding sparked, as if a veil had begun to lift. Before I could voice these revelations, the light overhead flickered ominously, and the storm outside answered with a thunderous roar that echoed like a warning through the basement. Jamie and I exchanged glances, both realizing whatever had drawn us here was far from over. "Let's get back upstairs. We can go through this stuff later," I urged, feeling a gnawing instinct that we were running out of time. Our revelation would have to wait. Carter's unresolved presence loomed larger than the shattered remnants of our childhood. As we fled the basement, a loud crash erupted, and a shiver traced its way down my spine. The house was alive with memories, but now it threatened to consume us like the fire I had once feared. We reached the top of the stairs, panting, our breaths competing with the thunder outside. "Carter!" Jamie shouted, the echo slipping through the cracks of the walls. "Where are you?" "Here," a weak voice answered from the shadowy corner of the attic, the very place where our past had been so resolutely entangled. He looked different, vulnerable, almost small against the storm's backdrop. I thought you were gone. What's going on?" I pressed, stepping forward, the urgency compelling me to cross the boundary between fear and confrontation. "What did you mean about the fire?" Carter's face contorted, a mix of anguish and something else that I couldn't place. "I found something when I returned. Something that ties us all together, Sam. It's more than just memories. It's about the truth of that night." "Then tell us," Jamie implored, voice rising over the wind. desperation mingling with anger. "Stop hiding." His eyes were wide, raw fear colliding with desperation, a glimpse into the turmoil he had carried. "You don't understand. It's not just about us anymore. We're all still in danger. There are people who want to erase what happened, and you too are part of that legacy." At that revelation, the air thickened. The pieces of our broken past suddenly shifted, revealing a labyrinthine injustice we had never fathomed. I couldn't breathe as realization clawed at me, a swirling maelstrom of confusion and dread. "Who? What are you talking about?" I pressed, yearning for some semblance of clarity, but Carter's eyes filled with a gloomy darkness that rendered the truth all the more terrifying. Before he could answer, the storm howled louder than ever, drowning out the words that could change everything. The floor shook beneath us, dust falling like tears from the ceiling, as if the very structure of our shared history threatened to collapse beneath the weight of unspoken truths and unresolved fears. And then, with a resounding crack, the ceiling above us splintered. Splinters of wood and coal rained down around us. I reached for Jamie, the instinct to protect clashing with the chaotic physics of our fragile reality. "Sam, look out!" Jamie yelled, instinctively pulling me aside, just as a beam from above crashed to the ground where I had just stood, splintering the wood with a haunting echo that we were caught in a storm not only outside, but within ourselves. Past and present had risen to collide with our very existence. The revelations Carter was holding tightly within were becoming mere fragments in the face of impending destruction, and as fear washed over us like a tsunami, I realized we were not just fighting our past but an undeniable destiny. And in that moment, under the weight of seismic revelations and the calamities we faced, I knew whatever truth we had yet to discover might be our only chance to survive the storm threatening to consume us all. The tremors of the falling debris echoed in my bones as Jamie and I stumbled backward, struggling to regain our footing amid the chaos. Panic surged within me, entwined with the threads of dread that had woven themselves tightly around my heart since we began this journey. The storm outside roared like a wild beast, as if sensing our turmoil and choosing to amplify it. "Carter, what did you see?" I shouted over the cacophony. Fear clawed at my insides, the ominous warning in his eyes deepened my unease. What truth could be worth this level of desperation? Carter's face, usually so reserved, was contorted in anguish. "I found something in the ruins of that night." His voice trembled as he began to speak, every word stretching time, burdened with the weight of memories unearthed. "I thought it was just guilt pulling me back, but there's more, Sam. More that connects to us than just our past." Jamie held my hand tightly, their grip fierce enough to ground me in this turbulent reality. "What do you mean?" They pressed, their gaze darting between Carter and the remnants of our childhood swirling around us. Carter took a deep breath, glancing up at the splintered beams teetering precariously overhead. "That night it wasn't just a fire. It was something else, something deliberate. There are people who want to erase the truth, Sam. It's not just about us anymore." Each word fell like a stone in the pit of my stomach. My mind raced, grappling with his implications. Had we merely escaped a childhood filled with pain, or were we fleeing from something darker than our fragmented memories, a conspiracy that had tied our fates together in ways we had yet to comprehend? "We have to get out of here," Jamie yelled, voice strained against the storm's howling, bringing me abruptly back to our precarious situation. The attic was becoming a suffocating tomb, engulfed by the storm we had unknowingly invited back into our lives. "What if we can't just run?" Carter's voice cracked under the tension. "What if staying is our only chance to uncover what really happened?" I turned to him, emotions swirling like the tempest outside. "What do you know, Carter? You can't leave us like this." I felt the familiar resentment bubble up, just as it always did when I sensed we were once again circling around buried truths. You're still holding back." He stepped closer, sweat glistening on his forehead despite the cold atmosphere. "You don't understand. They've been watching us, waiting for us to reconnect, to sift through our past. There's something tied to the house itself, a key to uncover everything." Every breath felt honeyed with desperation and loathing, memories twisting cruelly around me, tormenting me with images of the fire that had irrevocably changed our lives. "What key?" I spat the question as if to deflect the wave of panic rising in me. A sharp crack above us drew my attention, and I cursed the fate that had thrust us together once more. Whatever it is, can it really show us what happened? Or will it drown us further in it? Carter gazed away, guilt flickering behind his eyes. I didn't want to bring you back to face this. But if we don't find out, we won't ever be free. I chewed on my anguish, hindsight rehashing every difficult decision we made back then, decisions that had led us to this moment, to this dilapidated attic under the weight of the past. It will only bring more pain if we don't know. Same as before, I whispered, just then, with a heart-stopping lurch, the entire attic tilted dangerously, sending us scrambling to regain balance. Plaster and dust cascaded down like intentions lost amidst our emotional upheaval. The roiling storm outside reached a fever pitch, blurring the line between the tempest within and the one encapsulating us. Carter! Jamie cried out, pulling me free from the pleading gaze that had begun to tether me to the tempest of emotions swirling between us. We need to leave now, but before they could finish, another loud crack made us flinch as a heavy rafter tumbled from the ceiling, crashing where Carter had stood only moments before. I felt a wave of dread wash over me as realization dawned on what we're up against. The very house that once held our dreams now threatened to bury us beneath its anguished weight. Run! I screamed, gripping Jamie's hand as I darted for the narrow staircase that led us to safety. The thunder roared outside, synchronizing with the pounding of my heart as we fled the room that had cocooned both wonder and sorrow, the crucible of our childhood. But as we turned to flee, I heard Carter's choked voice from behind me, shattering the fragile hope I had held on to. You don't understand, it's not just the memories in danger, it's all of us. If you run, you won't escape. They're coming for you both. They've always been here. His words hung heavily in the air as we made our descent, each step steeped in uncertainty, the house surrendering one final, desperate plea. A tremor surged beneath us, shaking the floor as we hurtled down, and just as we reached the bottom, the walls of the hallway shuddered violently. Go! Get outside! I urged Jamie. Heat prickled my skin, and I could feel the whispers of the house closing in on us from all sides, echoing with the ghosts we had unwittingly awakened. At that moment, another crash reverberated through the air, and I instinctively turned back for Carter, torn by loyalty and fear, racked with the gnawing sense that if we chose to leave, we might never. But as I hesitated, a violent roar filled the air, and through the wall of shadows, I glimpsed figures emerging from the depths shrouded in darkness, their outlines grotesque against the swirling storm. The fate of our past had finally caught up to us, and in that instant, I realized that the fire we thought extinguished was only beginning to blaze anew. Sam, hurry! Jamie's voice pierced the encroaching shadows as we raced toward the door, but my heart was still straining at the thought of leaving Carter behind, a choice that felt dangerously profound. That I hesitated just long enough to catch a glimpse of Carter's wide-eyed expression, one that mirrored my own turmoil. It was not just our past at stake, it was our entire future. And as I tore my gaze from him to sprint into the pouring rain, I knew I was leaving behind a piece of my soul, one I might never reclaim. Outside, the storm lashed against us, cold and unrelenting as we fled into the darkness. But nothing prepared me for the sense of loss that washed over me when I realized we had crossed an irretrievable threshold, one riddled with the unspoken truths we still had to face. As a flash of lightning illuminated the night sky, I felt an impending dread coil around my heart, heavy with the knowledge that our childlike innocence had not merely left us behind, it had torn us apart, allowing shadows to seep into our very essence. And still, the whispers of long-forgotten memories tugged at me, urging me to remember the ties that bind. But with every step away from that house, the growing darkness behind me felt like a promise of secrets garnered by time, waiting in patience to unveil themselves. Whatever awaited us was bound to be nothing short of harrowing. The lingering question pulsed in my mind as we plunged into the tempest: had we truly escaped, or had we just initiated a darker chapter of our lives? The rain poured relentlessly, drenching my clothes and drowning any remnant of warmth that clung to my skin. Jamie and I stumbled through the thick underbrush, the chaotic storm drowning out my thoughts, but not the thundering of my heart. Each step away from the house felt like a betrayal, an irreversible severing of ties to the past, both glorious and horrendous. Sam, we have to keep moving, Jamie urged, tugging at my hand. Their voice was laced with urgency, but I could hear the tremor beneath it, a reflection of the same fear twisting around my own heart that I can't just leave him. I shouted back, my voice rising above the storm. The wind howled in response, but the ache in my chest was louder. I had made the choice to run, to escape the shadows that had loomed over our lives for so long, but at what cost? The haunted look in Carter's eyes lingered in my mind, a silent echo of the promises we had made as children. We don't know what's out there, Sam. We can't fight them if we don't survive this. Jamie's grip tightened, pulling me out of my morose thoughts. Every fiber of my being screamed for Carter, but my mind echoed Jamie's words, a flickering light of reason amidst the storm that we stumbled into a clearing, the towering trees surrounding us like guardians shielding us from the wrath of the tempest. Nearby, an ancient stone well stood, a relic from another time. My breath caught in my throat as I approached it, memories flooding my mind like a tide. This was where we used to play, the very spot where we had shared laughter and secrets, blissfully unaware of the darkness that lay ahead. That I used to believe this place was full of magic, I murmured, brushing my fingers against the weathered stones. Jamie stepped closer, their brow furrowed with concern. Sam, we can't stay here. They pleaded. We have to figure out what to do and find shelter. We need to regroup. But the well felt familiar, grounding me even as the storm raged around us. I wanted to believe there was still magic to be found, that the very place that had witnessed our childhood could provide answers now. Could it hold the key to what Carter was hinting at? Suddenly, a thought struck me with fierce clarity. What if we go back? I asked, frightening myself with the enormity of the suggestion. What if we find something in the house? Something that can protect us? Something Carter knows? Jamie's eyes widened, their expression a mix of outrage and disbelief. You can't be serious. They just chased us out of there. It's dangerous, and he's not worth it. The sharpness of their words stung, but the truth was, I felt an urge to confront my own vulnerabilities, to unveil the truths buried deep within me. But he's my friend. Wehe was willing to let you stay behind. Jamie's voice broke through the storm's fury. What if it's a trap? What if going back means putting both of us in greater danger? We just escaped, the storm roared louder as if agreeing with Jamie, but a part of me couldn't shake the whisper that urged me forward. The painful memories of the last moments spent with Carter, his desperate expression, the words he had left unspoken echoed in my mind. There was unfinished business lingering there, a knot of emotions pulsating between us like a flickering flame caught in a gale. What if he knows something that could help us? Something that could finally explain everything? I insisted, my heart racing. The stormy winds wrapped around me, but amidst the chaos, I glimpsed the glimmer of hope. And what if we lose each other? Jamie's voice softened, now pleading rather than accusatory, revealing a vulnerability that mirrored my own. I can't bear the thought of losing you again. As we stood there, both of us drenched and trembling, I felt the gravity of our connection, forged in childhood trauma and tested in this storm. It propelled me forward with undeniable force. We have to try. If we don't confront whatever this is, it will haunt us forever. Just then, a flicker of movement caught my eye from the corner of the clearing. I turned sharply, heart racing, as a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Carter, drenched and gaunt, but not broken. His eyes were wide, reflecting a strange mixture of relief and urgency. Sam. Jamie. He shouted, the sound barely cutting through the storm, but it ignited a lifeline of hope within me. Carter. I breathed, relief flooding my senses as I ran toward him. I knew I had dragged Jamie into the storm, unsure of the consequences, but here was my friend, my anchor seeking answers alongside us. But just as I reached him, a shadow moved in the dark behind him, launching toward us with alarming speed. Terror shot through me as the memory of shadows becoming flesh returned. Look out! I screamed, yanking Carter out of the way just as a figure lunged at him. The storm sculpted a chaotic tapestry of fear, and as I turned back, the last glint of lightning revealed our assailant, a familiar face shrouded in malevolence, eyes glinting with a vengeance long concealed. Did you think you could run from this? They hissed, the storm distorting their features into a ghostly visage I recognized from my past. You won't escape the truth any longer. Time fractured around us, a colossal wave of realization crashing over me. The wheel of fate had spun again, and we stood on the precipice of a storm that could either shatter our hold on the past or tether us to an even darker truth. With the thunder crashing louder than my heartbeat, I realized the full weight of the moment. Whatever I was willing to sacrifice for the truth could also cost me everything I cared about. The cold air bit into my skin as I staggered back from the figure lurking in the shadows. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The storm raged on, a menacing backdrop to the confrontation playing out before us. Alex, Carter breathed, swallowing the name like a bitter pill. My mind raced. Had we truly escaped only to come face to face with the very shadow we sought to evade? What are you doing here? A slow smile spread across Alex's face, curling like smoke. I came to find you, of course. Did you really think you could slip away, turn your back on something so much bigger than yourself? Their words dripped with a chilling venom that left me breathless with dread. Jamie stepped closer, their body taut with unshed tension. You don't scare us, Alex, they asserted, even as doubt laced the edges of their voice. Oh, but you should be scared, Alex replied, eyes narrowing with a predatory gleam. You have no idea what's coming. Enough. I shouted, surprising even myself with the strength of my voice. What do you want from us? My heart raced, a drumming soundtrack to the chaos around us. Alex stepped forward, an apparition in the storm, yet I could sense a familiar glimmer of manipulation behind their gaze. What I want, they said, their tone shifting towards something almost tender, is for you to understand what you are part of. Carter knows. Don't you, Carter? Carter's expression flickered, caught between defiance and despair. I know more than you think, but I won't let you control this anymore. I won't let you hurt them. His voice cracked under the weight of his conviction, and it left a cavern of uncertainty hanging in the air. A steely chuckle escaped from Alex, the storm's fury almost mirroring the darkness swirling in their presence. You think you can protect them? This is bigger than any of you's very choice has consequences, Carter. Run away, and you will only drag your friends deeper into this mess. That I looked desperately from Jamie to Carter, the weight of their expectations squeezing my chest. In that moment, everything felt tangled: friendship, fear, the grappling shadows of the past we couldn't escape. But the flickering light of Jamie's hand brushed against mine, grounding me amidst the chaos. Do you want the truth? Carter challenged, emboldened despite the lingering fear. Then let's have it, Alex. Show us. Very well, Alex replied with a sardonic nod. But you need to be ready to face it. All of it. They gestured to the storm, to the chaos around us. The air felt electrified, as if the unveiling of hidden truths would break with the light of the next lightning strike. In that charged moment, a thought struck me: if Alex's appearance was part of something larger? What if there were deeper threads woven into the fabric of our lives, pulling us together despite the darkness? I turned to Jamie, seeking that quiet bond we'd built in our flight, but before I could speak, a voice broke through the storm, clear and melodic, relentless against the tumult. Sam. Jamie. Carter. It was a voice I had not heard in years, laced with a familiar warmth that tugged at my heart. I whipped around to the edge of the clearing, where a figure emerged, drenched but somehow radiant against the downpour. Isabel. I gasped, my breath hitching with disbelief. What are you doing here? She stumbled forward, her eyes wide with fear and determination. I came to find you. I remember everything, the reason we have to stay together. You can't let them pull you apart. Alex's expression morphed into something darker, a flicker of surprise quickly masked by calculated malice. You shouldn't have come, darling. You're complicating things. Complicating? Or revealing? Isabel replied, each word a tether pulling me closer to hope. You all deserve the truth. We can fight this together. Her presence illuminated the clearing, sparking something within me, pushing back against Alex's shadow, yet as lightning flashed overhead, slicing the darkness, I suddenly felt a shift in the air. Something far more sinister approached, hidden among the branches, waiting for the right moment to Strike. Guys, there's something else here, I breathed, the sense of foreboding consuming me as shadows began to writhe, coalescing into something ominous just beyond the trees. And as I turned back to face my friends Carter, Jamie, Isabel, the strangest connection surged between us, a binding force woven by our shared histories and unanswered questions. But with Alex lurking so close, and a new threat emerging, my heart sank with the realization, the clock was ticking, whatever we're facing, we'll do it together, right? I asked, my voice catching, unsure if my words could hold the looming darkness at bay. Together, came the chorus of whispers, and for a moment, hope flickered amongst us. But the shadows crept closer, pulling taut the strings of our fates, ready to reveal a truth none of us could have ever prepared for. In the distance, thunder cracked like the breaking of an oath, shaking the very ground beneath our feet, and in that moment, I knew, the storm wasn't just outside, it was within us, and we were on the brink of discovering how deeply intertwined our destinies truly were. The storm pounded around us, a relentless drumbeat to accompany my racing heart. The air felt electric, thick with fear and the promise of revelations that hovered teasingly in the distance. Isabel stood there, her hair plastered against her forehead, determination shining through the rain-soaked uncertainty that enveloped us. Isabel, I began, my voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy. How did you find us? I remembered, she said, stepping closer as if daring the storm to approach. The stories we shared, the things we promised. I knew you'd need me. Despite her drenched appearance, she brought a warmth that contrasted sharply with the icy winds around us. Carter's gaze shifted between Isabel and Alex, his brow knitted with concern. What do you mean, you remembered? What are you not telling us? It's about all of us, Isabel replied, each word seeming to solidify the ground we stood on. Why we were drawn together, why we can't let Alex divide us. Our past is entwined with something far more significant than we understood at the time. A sinister laugh crept from Alex's lips, shattering the fragile moment. Ah, the nostalgic reunion. But do you truly think you can face what's coming with memories and hope? You're all but a whisper in a tempest. You'll need more than fond recollections to survive. Maybe that's all we need. Jamie spoke up, their voice steady against the storm's howls. I marveled at the courage emanating from them. You can't strip us of what we share. You thought you could break us apart, but we're more than just individuals nor pawns in your plan. Is that so? Alex challenged, stepping forward, their shadow swallowing the ground. Then let's see how deep your bonds go when the truth is laid bare. With a snap of their fingers, shadows shifted again, dark forms coalescing behind them, laughter echoing in the thunder. A sense of dread gnawed at me as I turned toward Isabel. What does this truth entail? I asked, seeking reassurance. I don't know all of it, she admitted quietly, but I remember fragments of our shared past, something we all promised to protect, even if we didn't know it. Oh, how lovely, Alex mocked. Childhood oaths, such fragile things. What if I told you those memories were the very reason you're being targeted? The world tilted around me as Isabel's face paled. Targeted? By whom? Alex's grin widened with malice. By the ones who seek to control not just your fates, but the power within you. A power you've dismissed and forgotten. With an outstretched hand, Alex conjured a ghastly figure from the shadows, a specter that mirrored the very essence of our fears, drawing strength from the dark corners of our memories. I could feel my breath hitch as it pulsed with lost moments, regrets, fears, desires, each one whispering treachery. No. Isabel gasped, eyes wide as she backed away, but it was too late. The specter slinked forward, latching onto her, dragging forth a hushed gasp of anguish that echoed through the clearing. The very air felt heavy with palpable terror, but deep down, I could feel something, a flicker of recognition and solidarity uniting us. Sam. Jamie cried, reaching for me. We can't let them take her. Suddenly, something deep within me ignited, a suppressed memory that had lingered just beyond reach, flaring to life amidst the chaos. Isabel. I shouted, a sudden surge of clarity enveloping me. Remember what we promised. We are stronger than this. She struggled, but there was defiance burning in her gaze too. I do remember, and I won't let them win, at once, I felt the connection glistening within the storm. It wasn't just our shared past, it was the bond forged in battle, in laughter, in whispered secrets. The flickering hope surged among us, uniting our strengths despite the shadows pressing in. Together, we stood our ground, hearts hammering in synchrony as Carter, Jamie, Isabel, and I began to reach for one another, our hands interlocking amid the chaos. The spectre recoiled, sensing the unity that sparked between us, a fierce light radiating against the darkness. And yet, just as we believed we could leap between the shadows and embrace the light, I heard a low rumble of an even greater storm brewing beyond the tempest. A figure emerged from the darkened trees, cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting like knives. More than just a person, an entity that sent a shudder through the ground beneath us. "Ah, the reunion," the figure said, voice honeyed with malice, unveiling a grin that betrayed no warmth. "You've forgotten the very nature of your bond. The ties that bind you together may very well bind you to your doom." Blind panic surged within me as dread curled around every hope I had. "Who are you?" I demanded, desperate for answers but knowing I might not like what I found. As thunder cracked overhead, the figure took a step closer, the tempest swirling around them. "Your truth is but a whisper in a storm. Time to unleash what you've hidden, and discover the cost of coming back together." And just like that, the fragile thread of hope we had grasped was threatened, leaving me standing at the precipice of uncharted shadows and the dark revelation of our intertwined destinies. The storm pressed on, wind howling through the trees and the rain attacking like 1,000 arrows piercing the night. Yet somehow, as fear threatened to swallow me whole, a warmth flickered in my chest, a remnant of the shared strength pooling among us. We had stood on the brink of darkness, and it fortified something within, reminding me of the magic we had once believed in, emboldened by innocence and dreams yet untainted by the shadows looming over our lives. As the figure stepped closer, I could feel the tension stinging the air, my heart thundering against my ribcage. "You think bringing your friends together could rewrite the past?" they taunted, voice smooth and slippery like oil. "You'll soon see how wrong you are." We couldn't falter now. I turned to Jamie, and from the corner of my eye, I could see Carter and Isabel, resolve etched on their faces. "Stay strong. We're in this together," I urged, squeezing Jamie's hand. As the darkness threatened to swallow us, I could feel the light of our bond pushing back against the shadows, reminding me of the stories we had built together, strong enough to weave a thread of defiance. "Enough of this." Alex's voice burst through the torrent, like thunder cracking the night sky. "You think hope can save you from the truth? Let me show you what I've found." With a flick of their wrist, a shroud of memories wrapped around you, sentiment and raw images of laughter shared, secrets whispered, and promises made. Yet, amidst the warmth of our cherished moments, shadows crept in, staining the memories with regret and abandonment. I couldn't bear it, they were tainted by the guilt that had long shackled us. But then, Isabel stepped forward, a sudden light in the storm. "No. We choose how we remember. We choose to fight." Her voice rang out, fierce and illuminating, breaking through the oppressive darkness, and I felt the warmth of her courage seep into me. "Together, we can reclaim our truth." A wave of solidarity surged through us as we joined hands, forming an unbreakable circle. The stories that bound us morphed within the tempest, intertwining our buried memories with empowerment, and suddenly, with each heartbeat, the shadows quivered, the darkness less suffocating. "We're tired of running and hiding. We've fought for the past too long, now it's time to embrace who we are." I shouted, feeling the power bubble up within us. The air stirred, lifting around us as if acknowledging our resilience, and with it, an ethereal light began to glow, emerging from our joined hands, pushing against the shadows that sought to entrap us. Suddenly, fierce cracks echoed around us, and those emerging figures stepped forth, seen through the distortion of fear that painted them monstrous. They were familiar, intertwined with our memories, but now illuminated by the fierce hope burning in our hearts. They were our friends and family, shrouded in the love we had buried beneath guilt and sorrow, a quiet part of us we had forgotten but could no longer deny. As the shadows lashed out, I could feel the collective weight of our histories lift, each light pushing back against the darkness that sought to consume us. "Remember the love that's intertwined our stories," I cried, feeling the energy radiate between us like a blinding flame. In that moment, as light met dark, the storm swirled into chaos, a dance of liberation that felt powerful and terrifying. Accept our truth. We cried, voices rising in unison. With each syllable, memories of joy and laughter poured forth, the shared warmth wrapping around us, transforming the storm into a gentle embrace. The shadows shrieked, unraveling at the seams as our unified resolve pushed forward, reclaiming the heart of what we had lost. You don't have the power to break us. Jamie shouted, voice rising above the din, and at that, something began to shift. The darkness flickered like a flame before finally disintegrating into a flurry of shimmering remnants that floated away like ashes, leaving only the echo of our indomitable spirit behind. That I and the aftermath. The storm receded, the skies brightening in kaleidoscopic hues, a scarlet sunset painting the landscape with warmth and hope. Silence enveloped us, tender and healing, and I glanced around at my friends, each of them shining in the newfound light, tied together by more than just memories of our past. We were forged by shared battles, scars that made us stronger, but amidst the relief, a weight settled deep inside me I couldn't shake. Carter stepped beside me, his eyes downcast yet filled with gratitude. I'm sorry, he whispered, heavy with remorse. I thought hiding the truth would protect you, but it was wrong. I never wanted to sever our bond. That I hesitated, my heart clenching as I thought of the years wasted, the pain tied to his absence. But as I looked at him, I also saw a flicker of understanding, one that spoke of the burdens we all carried. In that moment, I made a choice. I forgive you, I replied, voice steady. We've all made mistakes. Tears glistened in his eyes as we embraced, a transition from shattered past to a hopeful future woven together by grace. And as we pulled apart, I looked around at Jamie and Isabel, feeling the enclosure of their warmth. We'll rebuild this together. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in molten gold, that promise rang true, connection forged by fire, intensity fused with hope. We were no longer running from shadows, but leaning into the light of our reclaimed truth, stepping into a future open with doubt but filled with potential. The last fragments of the storm faded away, drawing us closer in this new beginning. The bond between us intertwined deeper than blood, woven through every shared laughter, every tear shed. Filled with a softness that settled deep within me, I turned to my friends, ready to embrace the journey ahead, the beauty of what could unfold in the world around us, and the knowledge that together, we could face anything. That I took a deep breath, leaning into this moment, each heartbeat echoing like a drum heralding a new dawn. This was it. I felt it resonate through me as a sense of closure began to settle. In the distance, the stars began to appear, their light twinkling brightly against the dusk. And as I gazed up at them, wonder enveloped my heart, a reminder that no matter how dark the world might get, hope always lingers, waiting for us to reach out and touch it. Together, we were limitless. And with that thought, I whispered to the wind, we're home.